Hello students, welcome to ePathshala. I'm back. I'm Shaini Das, Assistant Professor in Department of Sociology and Population Studies from Bharatiya University, Coimbatore. Today I'm going to just take you to another module which is on women's employment. Women represent about 48% of the total population in India. However, in the employment market, women's participation is much lower. National statistics show that out of the 459 million employed population, women constitute only about 148 million. Even of this, only about 50.16 lakhs or 5 million women are in organized sectors and 120 million are in unorganized sectors. The societal value of women's work and non-conducive work environment in unorganized sector are critical issues to women's participation in employment. Women juggle with a double burden: 1. Managing household work, and 2. Complement family income. The complication and invisibility of women's productive work and poor conditions of work are now debated widely. More appropriately, the triple burdens on women are paid work, housework, and child or elder care. This influence to a great extent on the type of work and the availability of work for women in society. Moreover, the existing socio-cultural norms define what is acceptable as work and delimit women's participation and force them to engage in unorganized rather than organized sectors. In fact, the prime age group women, which is between 15 to 59 years, are engaged themselves in principal duties of home and domestic responsibilities. However, most vulnerable to economic exploitation are the poor, illiterate, and women and girl children from rural areas. Moreover, discrimination of women at the workplace is ever present in both unorganized and organized sectors. These are the poor working conditions and environment, long duration and short durability of work, lower earnings and higher wage gaps, lack of labor rights and welfare, and lack of safety and security conditions at work for women in both sectors. Widespread unregulated conditions at work lead to exploitation that are manifested in different ways, from gender-based harassment to sexual harassment. Gender discrimination, job typing, and occupational segregations are not always explicit but exist implicitly, directly or indirectly, at home, at work, in community, or in society. Gender-based discrimination in employment is profound and evident in the recruitment process. The nature of work, opportunity of training and capacity building, evaluation of work performance, fixing of wages and incentives, denial to take up rewarding work, denial of promotion, glass ceiling to leadership position, sexual favors, and so on. Objectives of this module are to educate students on the history of women and work, women in the economy of today, factors that affect women in the workplace, and effects of work on women. History of women and work. Women are not new to concept of work. The differences we see today were prompted by industrial age. However, work roles for men and women in Vedic age were more equitable than today. Women and work in colonial India. Men and women had many shared activities. They worked as part of the household economy. Gender roles were then more fluid, but tasks were generally assigned by age and sex. Women had exclusive responsibility for management of household economy. They typically had from 5 to 10 children. In colonial India, roles were physically demanding. They made articles, fabric, clothes, chopped wood, prepared meals, cared for children. All women operated under the constraints of English legal and patriarchal social system. Women depended on men. This was necessary and was regarded as proper. During industrial era, there was a shift. Industrial Revolution of 1839 dramatically changed relationship of individuals to their work. Agriculture started becoming commercialized. Work and home roles became more separate. Therefore, men increasingly worked outside home for paid wages, while women's domestic work was still exhausting and remained unpaid. Women became more involved in socialization of children. Women also expected to attend to men's emotional as well as physical needs in the family. And gradually, but perhaps biggest change was the absence of men from the household. It also reduced the social visibility of women's domestic work. This led to the devalue of domestic work. Women's work at home was perceived to be in leisurely role. Men associated home with rest, relaxation, place of seclusion from stress. Since men didn't associate home with work, they also failed to associate women with work. Women on work during 19th century. Very few women worked in paid labor force, estimated to be less than 5%. Most women worked in textile factories because of the demand of manufacturing sector. Those women who remained in the home often took on laundry, sewing and other work for home and outside. Expansion of work roles. By the end of the 19th century, large corporations began to form. Government started expanding. Migration, transportation, communication increased. These changes led to gradual increase in the work opportunities for women. Women therefore entered in caring jobs, clerical and sales jobs, and also moved into teaching jobs. During World War I and World War II, there were massive mass media campaigns which triggered women's participation into traditional male-related jobs. On the contrary, during 1950s, the mass media campaigned women to be back into the home. 1950s and 1960s led to social pressure on women, and they were forced to stay at home. An increase in childbirth for stronger nation. Women in economy of today. According to census of 2011, workforce participation rate is 25.51% for females against 53.26% for males. In rural sector, it is better, 30.02% for females against 53.03% for males, while in urban sector, it is 15.44% for females against 53.76% for males. Women employment in organized sector. It is only a total of 20.5% with 18.1% of working in the public sector and 24.3% in the private sector. Unemployment rate in rural areas is less, which is 2.9 for females against 2.1 for males, while in urban areas it is more, 6.6 for females against 3.2 for males. Average wage or salary in rural areas is rupees 428.66 per day for females against rupees 550.23 per day for males, whereas in urban areas it is rupees 609.70 per day for females against rupees 805.22 per day for males. Globalization and women's work. Marked feature of neoliberal policy of globalization is enlightened self-respect and self-interest activated through market forces. It impacted on urban, rural and tribal or poor women as paid, underpaid and unpaid workers of Indian economy. During the 1990s, employment of middle-aged men and women decreased and employment of adolescent girls and child labor increased. Women were and are given less skilled and underpaid jobs for lower pay. Central government's social sector budgetary cuts, especially for balwadis and creches, enhanced the burden of poor working women. Economy thrived on young women's super exploitation, whereby employers overlook occupational health hazards and paying lower wages. Globalization led to something called dual economy, whereby individuals with similar levels of education and skills get differential wages due to casualization and subcontracting of the workforce. Introduction of contract system in public sector has institutionalized dual economy model. Differential wage policies in public as well as private sectors are permanent workers or employees, ad hoc or consolidated salary workers, daily wages and hourly based workers. Menial chores in railways, banks, teachers in education institutions are the best examples of dual economy. Job and wage discrimination. Migrants face job discrimination in pre-entry phase and wage discrimination in post-entry phase. Migrant workers remain the first to be fired and last to be hired. Dualistic model promotes differentiation based on language, caste, religion, gender, age, migration status, ethnic background, and exclusion from informal networks like trade unions, workers' association, cooperative society, social clubs, cultural organizations. This leads to less chances of upward economic mobility. Segmentation in the labor market. Segmentation begins in the rural areas between asset rich against poor who migrate to urban areas for jobs. Their income differs widely between these two segments. Mobility between them is limited. The assetless poor women are most adversely affected by globalization as traditional support systems of kinship and extended family networks have been eroded. Displacement due to mega development project renders poor women homeless and unemployed. Workers in casual sector are predominantly young and single men and women, while workers in regular sector are older and married. Factors that affect in women in workplace. These are gender stereotypes, which is women are regarded as tokenistic employees or they are regarded as queen bees doing all the works. They access discrimination. Their evaluation and promotion is biased because there is a glass ceiling above them. They don't get paid leaves but more unpaid leaves. There are cases of sexual harassment at workplace. There are occupational segregation and there are most commonly salary differentials or pay gaps between women and men. Why do these factors occur? In large part because of our social construction of gender. This we have read it in our first unit about construction of gender in society. Two primary causes of wage gap are: 1. Job segregation. Few jobs are held by men and women. Those held by women usually not valued nor paid as highly as men. Entitlement. Individual's sense of what she or he is entitled to receive as pay depends on his or her position at work. 6. Segregated occupations. Some of the occupations are dominated by female, some of the occupations are dominated by male. Occupations like secretaries, stenographers, healthcare, financial record keeping, household maids, child care workers are female dominated occupations. On the contrary, mechanics and repairs, construction laborers, engineers, health diagnostics, managers, farm operators are dominated by their male counterparts. Then have we broken the glass ceiling? Glass ceiling refers to the seen yet unreachable barrier that keeps women and minorities from rising to the upper rungs of the organizational ladder, regardless of their qualifications or achievements. The answer is we have not been able to break the glass ceiling because only 6.6% executives are women from general category, whereas 2.6% are women from minority. Global connections of poverty. According to B. Lott, although women are 50% of population or less in some countries, they own only 1% of world property and 10% of world's income. Conditions of women's lives provide markers of poverty and hunger. Women comprise 2/3 of the world's illiterate with no economic opportunity. Even a little education for women pays dividends in every index of social progress and development. Effects of work on women. Let us look into the foremost effect, which is on marriage. Employment leads to delayed marriage for many women. Sure, it's getting better, but still the predominant ideology is that man's job comes first, and therefore there is a job transfer from women to men. Women more likely to choose job to fit family needs if they want to keep their marriage up. Resultant, there are 3 kinds of marriage evolved: traditional, modern and egalitarian, which is still an ideal or utopia, marital bliss. In general, marriage is not as satisfying for women. According to Jess Bernard, who studied mental and physical health of single and married men and women, he found that married men are healthier, likelier to get better paying jobs and higher pay than unmarried men. Married men commit fewer crimes and live longer than unmarried men. Married women are 2 to 3 times more likely to report physical and emotional problems, even if they had economic independence. Household tasks. Household chores generally not fun for most men and women. Dissatisfaction with gender inequality in household tasks is one of the greatest barriers to national economic growth. Women are therefore in the double treble disadvantaged or burdened. Women who work outside home are the most dissatisfied with household task division. Household work generally not a seen and therefore not a valued task. According to J. Birnbaum, found that homemakers to have social isolation, lack of reward for job well done, financial dependence creating feelings of frustration, little or no control on family decisions. Children. Much guilt and stress among working mothers in both organized and unorganized sectors. There is lack of quality for child care available for mother support. Non-implementation of Maternity Act benefit for women employees in the organized sector leads to dropout of women from job. Personal psychological adjustment. There are two opposite hypotheses on women in work. One is scarcity. That means work makes one feel tired, overwhelmed, unable to do all the household demands. Second, enhancement. Work gives one more energy. Certainly, many women experience role strain, but that can be minimized by healthy physical habits. Physical health. Role strain could lead to poor health, but some studies show that employed women are healthier. According to Hochschild in his book, The Second Shift, he mentioned that for many women, work is mentally stimulating. Work encourages social interaction between people with similar interests and increases self-esteem of women. After looking at the women's employment at depth, let us now look into the summary. What we have to do is creating equal opportunity to full and decent employment for women. How? 1. Traditional recommendation of equal opportunity for women needs to be reviewed since requirements of women labor force are not being the same. 2. There should be equal opportunity and equal pay for equal work. 3. Flexi time could be considered for both women and men. 4. In globalized labor market, domestic and neighboring country markets should be studied for following global to local perspective. 5. Since dirty and lower paid jobs go to women, there is need to move to higher levels through education and skills training. 6. Long-term focus should be on attitudinal change of society and government towards women's work and economic benefits. 7. Creches should be provided for children of all organized and unorganized sector women workers irrespective of the number of employees present. 8. Urgent need for prevention of sexual harassment of women at Workplace Act of 2013. 9. Gender audit of budget is an important tool in the hands of state for affirmative action for improvement of gender relations. It is through reduction of gender gap in the development process. It can help to reduce economic inequalities between men and women as well as between the rich and the poor. 10. Social audit of workers' rights. Existing legislations on social security and social protection of workers are needed. 11. Implementation of the Unorganized Sector Social Security Act of 2008 is the most crucial step for ensuring basic human rights of informal sector workers and for humanizing employment relations for women workers. Thank you.